room full of my competitors. How are you? I'm going to be totally transparent and honest this whole time on how you can beat me out for gigs. No, I'm going to lie and tell you the wrong things. Always offend your audience. Always swear. The more vulgarity, the better. And damn it's not a swear word. Oh, damn it is a swear word. Okay, so we're going to take that out of the talk. I just want to cover something right now. Should I address the man bun now or at the end of the talk? Imagine a room full of 800 insurance salesmen in suits, and then this walks out. You want to talk about vulgarity? I can't hear them, I just hear. Melissa, that wasn't a swear word. I mouthed it, so it didn't count. We're still good. Mic's still on. Okay, good. That's so funny. So not only am I rocking a man bun, I'm also Canadian. Thank you. I pay well. So I have a message from Canada to you, America, about your current election process. I'm the only Canadian allowed to at talks in the States to offend all political parties when I say that. And by the way, we have plenty of room up north, so 90% of it's uninhabited, so just maybe not in February. So just July. July's good. Not here, not 173 degrees, but it's nice. So it's and people say, but the thing is though, I play off first impressions, right? And I play out that, and I come out like they're like, oh, it's amazing. People see that and they do this to me. They're like, oh, well, you've got that. It's your brand. It's your thing. It's that badass thing. I'm like, yeah, I got tattoos to get keynotes. I would, by the way, get tattoos to get keynotes. If that's what gets keynotes, I would get tattoos to get. I am an entire talk prostitute. I'm a talk-sistute. I would do anything to get a gig. It beats working every day, right? It totally does. You're talking to my friends that have the jobs, and then I talk to them. I'm like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm so tired. I had to talk for 40 minutes 6 days ago. But I leave it all on stage, so, woo, what did you do? I mine coal. It's about the same. But do you have to talk to 160 dentists? No, that's hard, okay? Tough crowd, that's hard to do. But I play off it. It's like, oh no, Scott, you wear Doc Martens, and you got your beard, and you got the shirts, and you don't wear a suit. I'm like, you understand, you want authenticity and transparency? I wear Doc Martens because they're orthopedically correct for my back. That is the least badass thing to do with shoes. I wear a black shirt because I used to sweat a lot. And black doesn't show sweat as good as, let's say, light blue, right? I wear these jeans because they make my arse look good. And I put my hair back because I'm lazy, right? I have a beard because I forgot to shave one summer and looked in the mirror finally at the end of August and went, not bad, and I kept it. Right? I pull my hair back because I'm just too cheap to go get a haircut. This is how it works. There is no brand. My brand in speaking is Scott. That's it. I have no brand thought. I have no brand strategy. Is that I talk like this, and I talk like this off stage. It's exhausting to hang out with me. But I talk like this off stage. I talk like this on Twitter. I do this on an interview. The best way to be authentic is be you. I actually don't like the word authentic or I think it's been overused. It's simply just be you. And the problem is that our game in the speaking world, we try to mimic sometimes. Oh, that worked really well, or this worked really well, and I want to do that. No, if you are your authentic self as a speaker, you will have no competition. I don't mean that in a cheesy way. Please don't start holding hands and singing We Are the World. I mean that honestly. Good song, I'll give it that, but let the professionals do it. So what I mean by that is simply when you're you, that's what you bring to the table. And then your experiences and your thoughts and the way you handle things, that's how we make ourselves different in speaking. That's how you make that authentic. I think transparent are verbs. It's what we do. It's how we act. I've had the honor and pleasure and disadvantage of meeting some of the biggest people in this industry. I've had the honor of working with them. I've had the honor of sitting down with them. And some of my heroes, it uses that definition, never meet your heroes, because they were horrible people. And they were the ones on stage that preached love and authenticity. I saw a speaker once talk about you have to be authentic in marketing while their Twitter account auto-tweeted their own quotes. I'll give you a second to think about that for a second. And for some of you, jotting that down is a good idea, get out. I didn't even know you could do that. That's amazing. I can engage without even being there. I don't know why I just licked a pen, but that's what I did. So that's the thing. So for me, my speaking journey started out, by the way, I solely make my living doing keynotes. It's pretty rare in the industry to do that. I don't do training. I don't do workshops. I don't like doing work. But I put air quotes around it, so it's okay, right? I don't like putting a lot of effort into things. Full stop. That's a period right there, by the way. I just don't. I enjoy my life. I enjoy my free time. I enjoy my family. I love this. And nothing else outside of doing this. I love this. Ever since I was 12 years old, sitting in my home, I live just west of Toronto, so we're just across the lake from Buffalo. And when I was 12 years old, sitting in my living room and watching TV, and since back then in the 30s, we didn't have remotes. So like whatever channel was on, I'm not getting up to change it. So it just would stay there for like 4 days on the channel. And it was on a WNED Buffalo feed, a pledge drive for PBS. And what was being shown at the time? The Les Brown talk was being shown. And if you donated $37, you got the VHS or beta cassette of Les's talk. And I watched it, and I just went, that. I want to be that. Well, not exactly Les. We're not the same skin color. But I mean, like that. I want to be that. That's what I want to do. And from 12. Before that, I wanted to be a firefighter and a vet. I wanted to be this and an astronaut, all these things. But they all required a lot of work. So I'm like, that. How do I get paid to yell at people? And then leave and have no implementation problems whatsoever? I want to be able to get on stage and have everybody look at me and I'm like, you're terrible at this, you need to do this, I'm going to go home now and go home. That's my ideal job. So I saw it, so I knew that was going to be what I want to do. I could always talk. Here's my confession. It's a horrible confession that'll make you hate me because it's not a confession at all. I don't get nervous. You hate me. I don't get nervous at all. I never have. Some people call it a mental problem. Or illness, that a synapse doesn't fire to say, hey, crap your pants, like you're about to go on stage. I sit, just right now, I sat back there you put a heart monitor on me, it's just like, I'm just ready to go. This is what I was put on this earth to do, was not dress as well as I should and come on stage and get pissed off. It's what I do because I love it. So from 12, I'm like, that's what I want. And I go through, I only graduate high school and I only graduate college because I have this ability, that I can do this. Because you know why? Because most can't. And when you can do something most can't, you do it really well. You don't even have to be a great speaker to be deemed great. You only have to be mediocre because everybody else sucks at it. That's a good tweet, by the way. I'll wait. At unmarketing, you only have to be hashtag NSA 16, hashtag man bun. Yeah, okay. But that's the point. So I went into my world and I graduated college. I actually took human resources in college. I know, right? And I had to get out of HR because I realized I hate people. And it was a poor combination. I don't know if HR made me hate people or I already did, but anyway, it's tomato, tomato. So I went into it, and then I got a job. It was 2 years at Goodwill Toronto's head office as an HR generalist, and I loved it. It's one of the only positions in a company where you change people's lives, good and bad, and I thought it was great. And one of the aspects of it, though, was training. That's what I love to do. So then after 2 years, that's as long as I could last, I got a job as a national sales training manager of a packaging company. I flew around North America training people how to sell bubble wrap. I'm going to say that again for this entire side of the room that didn't laugh. I flew around North America training people how to sell bubble wrap. You think what you talk about is BS? I sold air. I used to run 2-day training schools on it. 16 hours of training about that's it. And I had to convince them our air was better than their air, our competitors. I did that for 2 years, and that's the last day I ever had a real job. That was it, and that's what happened. So I worked it. So then I thought, okay, I want to do more. I want to do my own thing. And at the time, since my background was HR, and I really think speaking is not just about theatrics or performance, or where if I'm standing on this side of the stage or that frickin' side of the stage or whatever it is, what it happens to do is, do you have the credibility to say something with an audience who's willing to hear it, and can you deliver it in a way that's enthralling enough that they want to listen to it, that they're not distracted by their phone and Pokemon Go is going to get them running out of the room, right? By the way, people say you have to turn off your phones. No. If your talk is not good enough that it will distract them from playing Angry Birds, Candy Crush, or Pokemon Go, that's not the audience's fault. That's yours. They are not 11 years old. And if they are, they're better on their phone than 40-year-olds. Anyways, your job is to make them not want to be on the phone. My job is to make their mind so screwed up that they want to tweet what I'm saying, but they don't want to miss what I'm saying. They're like, no, and they're screwed up. That's on me. That's on me. So I decide my background being HR, I can do work-life balance, I can talk about it. Work-life balance, I can make a company called Work Your Life. That's what I could do. So I made a company called Work Your Life, and I did my own talk. Look at this. Where's this? Look at my head. I look like I'm 7 and 154 pounds. So, and apparently David Copperfield in the picture. I don't know what's happening here. So I did my first session. It's Work Your Life, how to enjoy your life with less stress and better communication. By the way, yeah, I was a speaker about enjoying life and being less stressed. If you figure that one out. So I rented a room at our local library. I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do it. I hired a film crew, and back then that was a huge frickin' production, not 3 people with an iPhone. Right, that was huge cameras on gear coming in there. We set it all up. I went and saw the venue before. I paid like a crazy amount of money, like $39 for the room. And I went in, looked at it, beautiful white walls. I picked out this burnt orange shirt. I'm like, I'm going to make a statement. And then we showed up for the gig, and I didn't realize they had painted the wall. I just threw up in my mouth. Why did I tuck it in like that? I look like a reverse MC Hammer. Parachute pant reverse for the people who didn't get the joke. So, and then I did it, and then I just can't use the video. That's the problem. I couldn't use any of it. That's what happened. So then I realized I did this, and I started doing my own thing, and I started saying, if you want to speak, speak. Do these talks. Yeah, you're going to do talks for free. You're going to do talks on your own. I get it. There were 17 people, I think, in the audience. 9 were family. 4 of them were there for yoga, which happened at 2:30. But they had nowhere to sit in the hallway because I took the chairs out of the hallway. And they had to be my crowd, my audience. And that's how it works. And I went through that, and I did some of those type of gigs, and then I started getting talks, and then I had family medical issues, and I said I couldn't travel anymore. And then I was at home, but then we made viral videos, and that was awesome for speakers, and they went bananas. Have you ever seen those slideshows online with just pictures and cheesy text and cheesy music, right? They're very motivational. That was us. I'm sorry. We made most of those. We made 60 of them, and they just went over the whole internet, and it worked for me. Right, and we blew up the business and everything else, and I realized, okay, I know a lot about marketing and sales. I started getting into that, right, and I started talking about sales and marketing. And 2009, Twitter blew up really. 2010, the first book came out, and I just timed it. And I don't have time to now. I'll do it, and I'm doing like a double workshop. They call it a deep dive for dollars. I'm going to throw up again. So, they promised me it wouldn't be called a deep dive, so. And by deep dive, I mean I'm going to sit on a chair on this stage and we're going to talk. No slides, no structure, no tips, I'm going to give you everything that got me from 2010, where my agency went bankrupt and no gigs, to 2015, and we booked $1 million in keynotes. And I'll give you everything from that. And I'll tell you, we're going to talk about podcasts and books and speaking and how I got in the 300 gigs between 0 to 300 to now. And now that this is all I do, that I've gotten my dream, that the irony of me showing me in front of a crowd while I stand in front of a crowd, it's not narcissistic at all or egotistical. Look, it's me on stage. Let me show you pictures of me with some pseudo B-level celebrities now. Like, it's not the point. What I'm saying, when I saw this picture and I went, yes, I've made it. I'm doing what I do. We were in Frankfurt in the past fall doing a talk, which blows my mind, by the way. Somebody paid us to go to Germany to talk to them. I'm like, don't you have some jackasses over there who can yell at you for nothing? And I went, and we're sitting having dinner. We were literally not making this up. We were having schnitzel and beer in a stein and talking. And one of the other keynotes looks at me and goes, so, because I'm an entrepreneur my whole life. And he's like, so, and he does this. He goes, like, what's next? Like, we're talking about hitting 1 million, and that was a cool little kind of false vanity metric, but I hit it. That was very cool. He's like, what's next? And I'm like, this. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that's about it. I have no this anymore. This is, again, I don't want to be cheesy. I'm literally living my dream from when I was 12, sitting and watching Les. I don't want any more. All I wanted to do my whole life was speak for a living, and now I'm doing it, and I'm good with that. Everything else requires work. I don't want to do that, right? I'm a hugely falsely popular in social media, what falsely inflates my ego and self-importance. So I know strategy about how to use social and how to get things trending and shared and moving around. Can you do me a favor? Stop it. Stop doing this. What you're doing is every time you share your own quote with your frickin' face on a picture and you share it yourself and you quote yourself, a kitten dies. Seriously. Murdering kittens. That's on you now. I've now given that to you. Do I want to murder a kitten? Well, Scott, it's a really good quote. It's a really good quote. Stop it. I had a few things I wanted to get out today, and so that's one of them. The other one is, if you have a photo, please look like it. If somebody comes up to you at NSA and they're like, hey, you doing? I'm Scott. And they're like, really? Maybe it's time to update that bad boy. Maybe a little bit. I've seen speakers who talk about authenticity that look nothing like their photo. You do not see the irony in this, do you? Please stop putting your face everywhere. We talk and we preach and I see it. It's about the audience, it's about them, and everything you share is about frickin' you. Stop it. Just stop it for a second and realize if you say it's about the audience, then make it about the audience and make it about them. Share stuff interesting. We have the unmarketing page on Facebook. We rarely share our own content. Our job is finding great stuff about our topics and be the catalyst for the conversation for the community. We don't share something because I got it. I don't share something because of an affiliate link. I share it because I think our audience would learn from it and be better from it. We already are the center of attention. We're standing on the stage. Why do you need it more? We don't need it more. You shouldn't have to do this. And a lot of times people didn't even get that joke when I shared that picture. Like, that's a funny quote. I'm like, I'm talking to you. Oy. But this is the problem with social media out there. This is the problem with all the sites, and there's so many of them. I can't keep up with all these sites, and I don't have a job. This is my only job. My only job is to be on Facebook. And I can't keep up with this. Are you on this, Scott? What are you doing here? I'm like, stop it. I don't know what to do. And people are like, well, no, Scott, we have to be on these things. We have to be hip now, Scott. The audiences are changing because the millennials are coming, and we need to be ready. Like there's some alien species coming, and millennials are in my audience, and they're using phones. What were they using before? Dial-up corded phones in your audience, and now they've gone mobile? People, when they say millennials, they don't even know what that means. It's people like 18 to 35. Who in this room is between 18 and 35? Oh, they're already here. Okay, listen. Shh. 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 Fellow old folks, listen. We're going to continue this talk via landline. And I'm going to share the copy with you on a cassette tape. And I will send you a Walkman. Two millennials back there. What? Where is he walking? What's happening? Here's the problem, and this is happening in talks now too. Can you address the millennials issue? What's that? That people are younger? Like, I don't understand. What's the issue? That people are all ages? When we say millennials, working with them, hiring them, talking to them, when we say millennials, what we mean is people younger than us, and we don't like them. Because they are younger than us. All we want, my fine young friends in this room, all we want is for you to feel a little bit of our pain, a little suffering. Look at my face. Look behind the makeup and see the eternal bags under my eyes. This is the face of rewinding. Cassettes, tapes, betting your bank account on beta versus VHS, Blu-ray versus HD. I lost both those bets. This is the stressful face of holding down play, record, and pause on your ghetto blaster. If the DJ would just shut up for a second. It might be Take On Me by Aha. It might be Take On Me. Hang on. Okay, go. Don't you talk near the end of the song, DJ. Don't you talk. The pressure of limited amount of tape and then having to tape over the holes on it to retape it. You have no idea about stress. You and your Netflixes and your apps and all these things, which I both enjoy, by the way. They're both incredible. They're awesome. Well, they're always on their phone. Have you seen humans? They're all on their phones. They're all walking around like this. This is the problem. We have this issue by saying, well, if we just compartmentalize a group of people, then we can judge them without feeling any of that pain. And we can judge them and we can do bias. That's one of the bias. It's ageism. It's biased. People who are younger than us bring things to the table. And the one thing you can't get when you're younger is that potentially experience, which is what we can bring to them. And you combine them together, it's amazing. But don't have this stereotype. Not for your audiences, not for your clients, not for anybody. We can't judge them like that. That's what this tattoo means, by the way, unlearn. It's not a brand thing, although it fits in quite well with my brand. It's actually from a movie, Higher Learning. In the early 90s, fantastic film. Lawrence Fishburne, Omar Epps, Tyra Banks. It's set on a university campus. And this is the word that comes up at the end. This is a screenshot we took and then tattooed it on my arm. Unlearn means we have to unlearn judgment. We have to unlearn hate. It's against homophobia, racism, sexism, that we have to, I don't believe anybody is born hating anybody. As Dennis Leary says, my 2-year-old hates naps. That's it. That's the only hate we've ever born with, right? We learn these things. If we want to be a better world, especially in this day and age, we need to make sure. So that's where the problem is. Here's my struggle on stage. People see this from the stage or in the camera, and they're like, what is it? I don't know, I'm not sure what it says. I was doing a book signing after a gig once, and a woman walked up, looked at it, and she goes, oh, unlearn. I thought it said unicorn. You thought the entire talk that this guy is walking around with the word unicorn. If I loved unicorn so much, would I not have a majestic unicorn drawn on my arm and not a statement of words? She's like, oh, okay. So now every talk, I'm thinking, they all think it says unicorn. And they all think this is my notes, right here. Like, hello, Phoenix, how are you? It's fat. That's a Gandhi quote, by the way. It's my life is my message. So it's amazing what people will assume, and that's what you do with speaking. So one of the things I'm going to tell you one of the stories I usually tell, but I'm going to give you the speaker side of it afterwards, the behind the scenes, and It's a humzinger. So one of the things I talk about on stage when I'm brought to is social and tech and digital. I'm a huge geek. I've been online since '94. I've been to every site on the internet. Yeah, every site on the internet, yeah. The one you were just thinking? Twice. So, and one of the things about social and speakers are like, I should be using social, should I be using this? I'm here to tell you, as somebody who has 180,000 followers on Twitter, I've tweeted over 110,000 times, all manually, not one scheduled, not one synced from Instagram, nothing. We have 45,000 people on our Facebook page. I have 4,000 people on Instagram that follow me. I don't know why. I'm on Snapchat, ChatSnap, whatever it is, too. And we have 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. I know 4 people in real life. I don't know who any of these people are, right? But it makes me feel really popular, right? Which makes up for my lack of it in high school. So, do you need to use social in this room? I'm going to tell you unequivocally, no. I should just walk off stage right now. You're like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard, by the way. You don't. Can it help you? Yeah. I don't mean to do the teaser thing, but in the workshop I'll talk about how I booked the first speaking tour, not a book tour, speaking tour with one tweet, and how we got our 6-figure podcast sponsor with a tweet. So, suspense. All right, yeah. Scenario or whatever it's called, Grand East. That's what it will be. So take that. And so with social and everything else is like, well, it's not the sake of what tool it is. The tools do nothing inherently. They just sit there. What you do with them is different. I love Twitter as a speaker because I can go after the talk, and if they're a Twitter audience type of thing, I can read all the thing that resonated with people. I think it's the coolest thing in the world to be able to do that. If they're not a Twitter audience, it's like me tweeting. It's like one person tweeting. It's amazing the difference in audiences, but you have to use it well. You have to use it for good, not evil for me. So I'll give you an example. I had a problem with an airline. I won't name the airline, but I had a problem with one of the airlines. And what happened was, you got to pull up the slide for make the joke work. There we go. Thank you. Can only stretch the joke so far, man. So we're at New York, we're at JFK Airport, and we're at Delta's terminal, and I get there like a good Canadian. I get there like 3 days early for my flight, and I'm like, how you doing? What you talking about? I'm here for my flight. And they're like, when's your flight? I'm like, Friday. So, you're there. And I get in line. I'm doing the Canadian ambassador thing, right? I'm pouring maple syrup on people, and I'm talking about my pet polar bear, and people say A jokes, and I'm like, it's really funny. I've never heard that one. And because we've heard every one of the jokes, by the way. So we get about halfway through the security corral, and the intercom comes on. It's like, Albuquerque, 5 p.m. flight. Please come to the front. You ever been in the airport when this happens? They call up the flight that's going to leave sooner, right? So I jump to stage 1 of Canadian anger, which is passive-aggressive politeness. Oh, no, after you, sir. Yeah, no. Yeah, you're late. I planned ahead and was early, but no problem. Yep. Your lack of planning is my emergency. Go ahead. What's that, sir? Oh, I'm sorry. You have a flight to catch. Oh, yeah, we're just all in line for burritos. I'm sure, yeah. Yeah, none of us are here at an airport for a flight. Go ahead. Go ahead. I see all your tags on your bag. You must be super important. Yeah, go ahead. Awesome. I finally get to the front of the line, and I get there, and I get over it, and I'm not an angry person, so I get to the front, and so I'm going through security, and I do, what you do, I get naked, and I put it all in the bucket, and I send the bucket down. Nobody heard the naked joke, so I keep going, and that's cool. And so I go down, and just then the dance of the flight attendants and pilots happens. Have you been there for this Cirque du Frickin' Soleil production? They walk in, with their carry-on and their badge, and they're like, they don't even see you. You're hollow, man. You don't exist. And they float past you. This is how this happens. And listen, I understand partially why they get to skip the line, partially. But they have to understand the first rule of Flight Club. And that is that sometimes if the joke doesn't land right away, give it a second. And then look at them awkwardly, and they'll get the joke. So, and the first rule of Flight Club is that the plane will leave without me, the paying customer. It will not leave without you, the pilot, right? Like you have I don't know if planes have keys, but I'm doing this, and I'm using a gas pedal for my foot. Apparently it's a go-kart. So they won't leave. So I get that, but it does not excuse you from common courtesy. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you work for. I don't care what wings you have on your lapel. It does not excuse you from common courtesy. My mama raised me right. Please, thank you, excuse me. Not because I'm Canadian, but because we're human. And in places of high stress, we should be more human to each other, except this time where I lost my mind. And after this 7th flight attendant had tip-checked me, I was no longer Canadian. I renounced my citizenship and went to stage 20 of Canadian anger, which is Canadian swearing. And I turned to the woman, and I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I looked at her, and I said, "Come on!" And I unleashed the 2 words a Canadian should never say. I lo Sorry. I'm sorry to my esteemed table up front. I just swore right in front of you. I believe I actually, as Canadian, I turned to her and I said, come on, I'm sorry. Like, I immediately apologized after the words came out. So, and she turns around and goes, what? And I'm like, oh, hello. Do you know who I think I am? No? And I said, none of you say excuse me? And she looks at me and goes, I said excuse me, in that exact tone with her Delta lapel. And you have to understand my mind at this time. Half my brain as a consumer is hurt and offended and upset, but the other half of my brain as a speaker and an author and a show host about brand train wrecks, I am ecstatic right now. I'm like, give me one more line and I can use this as a story on stage. So you know one more line's coming, right? That's called building anticipation. And I look at her and I said, I didn't hear any of you say excuse me. And she looks me right in the eye and goes, well then open your ears. Jackpots. Can I get your name? Thank you. And she goes through and she keeps walking. I said, excuse me, and I go through and I'm so angry, I'm silent. You ever been to the point you can't speak? I'm just like this. I'm looking for a news crew. Where's CNN? Canadian got told off by a New Yorker. That's gotta be news. And I go through and I jump to stage 30 of the stages of anger, and it's my shun list. You've made one, right? I will never fly Delta again. Our children will never fly Delta. It's going in my will. You want to make this up to me? I am a big deal on Twitter. I want my own plane. I want to sit on the pilot's lap. And I want 2 bags of pretzels, not just one. And when I ask for a second one, I don't want a saucy look from you. So then I unleash the only thing a Canadian social media diva that is almost as big as Justin Bieber in the country, the only thing I can do, and I send a tweet. And I say, Delta Airlines flight attendant pushes in front of me at JFK security. When asked for at least an excuse me, she replies, open your ears. I am so furious. I am so blind with rage. I misspelled Delta. Detla. Congratulations, Scott. You're a moron. 3 minutes later, Delta replied. How did they see it, you may be wondering? They have a search setting in their social media listening software that listens solely for angry misspellings of their name. That's thinking. 3 minutes later, they replied with, I'm truly sorry to hear this. We expect our flight attendants to be courteous at all times. Please accept my apology. And I get it. I'm at the gates 3 minutes later, and I get it. I'm like, oh, if you think, oh, okay. I'm sorry, too. So, how are you? It totally disarmed me. I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to say. The only thing I said was, well, that made me smile, thank you. You just diffused my anger. And I got on the plane happy. If you're going to use social, use it right. Use it well. And if you're not, that's fine. Just don't be half-ass. Don't have an account and auto-tweet once a week to it and check in once a month, okay? If I can deliver a parcel from Toronto to Florida by walking it there quicker than you reply to a tweet, delete your account. It's not the way. Can you use audience interaction? I love it. It creates value for the client. I tweet before it with the conference hashtag. I tweet after it. Awesome. If it's not your bag, cool. Don't do it. You don't have to. If anybody tells you you have to do something, they're usually selling you the methodology to do it, okay? I have nothing to sell. I have nothing to sell today. I have nothing to sell in my workshop. I got no back end. I don't have anything to sell you. I don't do consulting. Remember, hate people. I don't do consulting. I don't do anything. We have books in the workshop, 100 of them. We're giving them to you. I couldn't care less. I'm going to waiver the 9-cent royalty I make on these things and just give them away. I don't care. Now, the key here in social, though, is the speed they replied. That's the difference. But I want to give you the speaker heads up now. So, I'm doing this talk. I'm doing this whole thing in St. Louis 2 years ago. And you see the big reveal I did there, right? And I go, and I misspelled Delta! And I look at it like that. So I do it in front of 300 marketers in St. Louis. And I gave them my slides. And I don't send my slides in advance. And here's one of the reasons why. And I go on stage, and I get up there in front of all my peers in marketing. I'm like, and I misspelled Delta. And I've done that story 100 times, and every time it slays. And I went, Delta, and the whole room went, no, it's spelled right. And I'm like, and I look at the screen, and the AV person had spell checked the slide. And since it's not written in text, by the way, it's a picture, they used Photoshop to put in the right spelling of Delta. And as I'm throwing up in my mouth, I look back at the AV person who did it, and she's like this. I don't get jarred speaking. I don't lose my... This is what I do. I will do this any day of the week with no notice. I love it. And I just went, I'm an idiot. And that's it. Like, I had nothing. I had nowhere to go. And now you want to know why I don't send my slides in advance. That's the reason why I don't send them. That helps me and saves me from all these type of things. One of the last things I want to show you before I get out of your hair. So that's Allison, who's my co-host of the show, co-author of the books, our creator of Awesome with Marketing. She's also my wife and the best thing in the world, and she's standing back there. Hey, baby. And you got to put the slide back up because I like seeing her face. So if you put it back up for a second. So I found her through Twitter, by the way. I have the best social media ROI in history. Ever. So what I want you to do here, again, I have nothing to sell you. If you want to see how I use, so one of my struggles with speaking, by the way, is getting the audience then into my world, into my funnel, into my newsletter, and you speak at all these different audiences. So I'm using now this text, it's called Lead Digits from Lead Pages. If you guys, by the way, it's a US phone number. If it's Canadian, it won't work. I'm sorry, fellow Canadians. And but if you text, hook me up to 33444, I want you to see the process. I don't care if you stay on the newsletter. Unsubscribe. I won't be emotionally hurt. I don't send out news. I just do it like once a year. I just want you to see the technology that you guys could use this in front of your audiences. Because you'll get a text and it'll say, I'm probably on stage right now. This is kind of awkward, right? Because you can customize that message. And then when you put their email in the text, it automatically adds you to my newsletter system. And you'll get the welcome letter for the newsletter. And you can pick your trigger word. Mine's hook me up. We're not hooking up with you. But I mean, that's the key word we use. So give it a shot. And truly, join us for the podcast. It comes out every Wednesday. We've done 130 episodes. In the workshop, we'll talk about how the sponsorship works and how the show works. But, well, we love it every day. So I got one more story for you. Very quick, though. It's my favorite tweet of all time, okay? I've read every tweet in history. I live on Twitter. It's my world. It's my domain. And I'm going to show you the greatest tweet of all time. You ready for it? I'm not going to do the cheesy thing of repeating after me, but I'm going to say, you ready for it? So, it's not the tweet I'm about to show you, by the way. It's the tweet in the reply to it. I used to have this in the middle of my talk, and it got the most laughs. I'm like, that's terrible. So I had to move it to the end of the talk. So, no, I haven't set this up at all. So, my favorite tweet of all time, Men's Humor tweets, this morning I gave birth to a food baby, and I think Taco Bell is the father. Well, let's have Scott speak at NSA. He won't end it on a poop joke, right? Of course he won't. Or will he? So, Taco Bell, how do they reply to this? They can't stoop to their level, no pun intended. They can't stoop to their level because there's no lower form of humor than men's humor, right? There's nothing lower than that. And they reply with the only reply possible any brand can do, and they say, if you pull up the tweets here, they come up and they say, just pull up the tweet on the screen before I freak. So, Taco Bell replies with the only reply possible, and they say, I want a DNA test. So, thank you.
Scott Stratten, ladies and gentlemen.